Okay, here we go. ReVamp has been uploaded. It is live on itch. They're still waiting for it to go live on Steam. But it is out. It is available now. I have already played through the base game twice with the Piper and August romances. I will not be doing either this time around, and it's going to be somewhat new to me because I'm romancing. You'll see who I'm romancing. So, I'm gonna go to the codex real quick, and before we only had these entries, but this is a new entry that we got. It's basically a short story, very short, just a snippet to show what happened when Omen first arrived in Lunaris and encountered Ezra. So, we get this unlocked when we talk to Omen about his initial arrival in Lunaris, and he tells you that he met Ezra first. So I'm not going to read it, because I want to encourage people to get the game and get it unlocked for themselves. So some of these other ones I have already unlocked on my other computer, but there are still codex entries that I have not unlocked yet. So the gallery, we still only have 2 pictures for each character because I did quickly play through the first 2 chapters so that I'd be caught up with where we left off. So of course I don't have anything unlocked for the poly routes, and this is still the only picture we have unlocked here. I haven't unlocked all of these on my other computer either, because again, I haven't gotten through all of the content. Not for lack of trying. But anyway, let's go ahead and load the game. So this is where we started. You can see that I took care of this late last night. And then this was where chapter 2 starts. And now we're on, it's actually technically the Lunar Festival, not chapter 3. So you can see the skip button is still dark. That means I haven't actually read this content yet. I wasn't lying. All I did was make sure I would be ready to resume the story from where we left off with the demo. So my name was Jane. And then... That's never good. I opened my eyes to the incessant sound of fists banging on my door. My head is still pounding, a fuzzy haze settling over me as I drag myself from the relative comfort of my bed and attempt to ignore the ache that has made itself at home behind my eyeball. I blink once, twice, and yet. It's dark? Surely I slept for more than a few hours.
You better hope you're dead in a bloody ditch somewhere.
Mr. Dubois, if you don't open this door in the next 5 seconds, then you'll have to pay for a new one. I grimaced, thinking that might actually be the preferred option right now, right? Do we sleep for a whole day? Well, at least my death will be at the hands of something other than a ghastly creature, I suppose. Small victories. I look out the window, and the sun doesn't really past sundown. Lunaris is covered in snow, a crystal blanket of perfect light glistening in the moonlight. There are more people in the street than I've seen the whole time I've been in Lunaris, and they're hanging brightly colored bunting from between the crooked little houses.
I have things to do. Important things. I can hear you in there, you know.
Oh, right, my boss is banging on the door. The thought of opening the door and seeing August ready to tear my head off is less than appealing, especially when it probably looks like I've been dragged through a faceless and left for dead. I gather my wits and shout as clearly as I can muster, "I'll be down in 5 minutes!" And there's a series of incoherent mumbles from the other side of the door, followed by a clack of heels as they walk away without much of a fight. I get the feeling I'm in a lot of trouble. You think? You basically slept the day away, and you had a meeting that you missed because you were sleeping. Wonderful. Locals full to the brim with red-faced patrons, all wearing far fancier outfits than the usual uninteresting garments they tend to sport. I also see August scowling in the corner. I almost don't recognize them out of their uniform. They spot me, and I can almost feel my blood freezing as that ice-cold gaze fixes upon me.
We thought you were missing. I almost had a search party sent out for you.
Oh, gosh, can you just appreciate the outfit and the boots? Go with the fucking boots. So we can flirt or apologize. I am not going to flirt. It's not that kind of a route that I'm going for here. So I did flirt with the demo when I actually played through the chapters super quick. I didn't flirt with everybody. I really am sorry, Jenna. I overslept. By a lot. I promise I won't make it a habit. I don't have time for excuses. You missed your chance to brief us when you didn't show for a meeting this morning. But nothing. Jen is honest, thinking it might not be such a good idea to push them. If you had attended this morning's meeting, you would know that there's quite an important event happening this evening. I don't have much time thanks to your tiredness, so please bear with me while I explain.
We are in the middle of a crisis, yes, but the Lunar Festival is unavoidable. Harry thinks that if we postpone or cancel it, the town will erupt into chaos.
Okay, I'm going to tune down the music. It needs stability more than ever right now, and the last thing we need is more panic. Lunar Festival? A festival. But there are horrible murders being committed. Trust me, I know. It's important to be quite honest. The yearly tradition has been around for centuries, one that Harry holds dear. He's been distant lately.
We need our leader back. And if this helps, then I'm willing to play along. And I expect you to do the same. No questions asked, understand?
I hardly agree, and I have more than enough on my mind that I need to figure out, but the look August is giving me tells me I have little to no choice.
And between you and me, I personally think it's a complete and utter waste of time and resources, especially in the middle of such a crisis.
They sigh heavily, striking as if they've already admitted defeat. Alas, it's important to Harry that we stick with said tradition and show the people of Lunaris that everything is exactly as it should be. So just forget about the horrible murders and my sworn duty to protect and serve the people for a night then. Yes, you've got it. And I don't have a choice. Do you ever? Well, no. Point taken. A rather loud cheer rings out from the doorway, and August grimaces, running a hand over their face.
The festival itself takes place in the market. Please represent us well, Hunter. All eyes will be on you. And this is the perfect opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the town.
By the way, August's voice when you romance them is amazing. So soft and emotional. Soft. It's made me. I haven't even done the DLCs with them. So. And they look me up and down, apparently unsatisfied with my presentation. I want to change it to something a little more interesting. I suggest you find someone to escort you. It would look a little odd having you wander around by yourself. You have to show solidarity. So, this is where we can pick someone to go to the festival with us. And I'm going to romance Omen. I think I know someone I could ask to show me around. Now, there's a specific reason that I picked Omen, but you won't find that out until we get to the DLC. Very well. Just remember that all eyes are on you. And don't forget to change. I nod, smiling politely. Yes, General. Good evening, Hunter. They take on an expensive-looking fur coat and head out into the chill. I look down at my outfit, sighing as I resign myself to the fact that I probably should change. The cold is biting as I step out of the warmth of the wolf. I head for Ezra's shop because that was the last place I saw Omen, and think of no better person to go with. The moon is still falling, and Lunaris looks beautiful beneath the blanket of sparkling, luscious white. I turn the corner and see Finn and Ezra outside of his shop, the mage-light lantern flickering and fading as the witch steps out onto the street. He squeals as Finn sheds a handful of snow down the back of his coat, shoving the vampire playfully. Finn picks him up and spins him around once, twice, the brightest smile on Ezra's flushed, freckled face as he releases him. Gosh, that image. Michelle, are you going to the festival? I nod eagerly. Yes, well, I was told I had to. Willenheim, I'm guessing? Yeah, it's not Willenheim, it's Willenheim. I was incorrect there. Got it in one. At least you get a night off, I suppose? Cherish it while you can. How are you feeling, by the way? My head is clear after my exceptionally long sleep. A strange feeling still lingers. I'll be okay, just a little confused. Hopefully I can get some clarity when I get to speak to Harry and August in the morning. They share a loaded look, and I feel like they're keeping something from me. We'd better get going if we want to make the most of the festival. Yes, would you like to join us? Actually, I was looking for Omen. Another shed look, this time a little more playful. The demon, You don't strike me as the type to what Ezra elbows him in the arm, causing the vampire to flinch. I doubt it hurt him, but he plays along anyway. Then again, please. Sorry. He's inside. Take care of him, won't you? And don't let him eat any chocolate, I beg you. I will, and noted. Goodbye, Michelle. Have fun. So, no voices from them, but, the focus of this version of the chapter is Omen, so that makes sense. They take off down the street, Ezra quietly cursing Finn out as they go. The vampire slings his arm over Ezra's shoulder, throwing his head back and laughing loudly. I can still hear it echoing at the stonework when they're out of sight. Love them together. I step up onto the stoop and knock once before entering. The shop is warm, a nice reprieve from the biting winter outside. I spot a pointed tail swaying behind the shop counter, and as the bell above the door jingles, Omen pops up. Instead of a Jack in the Box, it's an Omen in the box. Michelle! Hello, Omen. What are you up to down there?
I was just looking for my notes. I thought I'd lost them, but apparently I'm just excellent at hiding stuff.
Can we take a moment to appreciate Omen's outfit here? Little flames along the hem of his jacket, and then the fur. And it's not even a jacket, it's a vest!
I had to wait for Finn and Ezra to leave to get a proper look around here. I'm not supposed to go near the counter.
Oh, really? Why not? He drops his gaze, his tail wrapped around his leg, ears drooping.
I may or may not have accidentally set fire to it once. Maybe.
I move to where he stands, and sure enough, the wood at the base is charred, blackened. Does that happen a lot? He shakes his head, looking a little sad, maybe even guilty.
Not really, but it does catch me off guard here and there. I try to control it, but sometimes my emotions get the better of me.
Understandable. But were you looking for Ezra? You just missed him. No, I was looking for you. His eyes were wide, brow raised. His tail unfurls from around his leg, gently swaying from side to side. Me? Why? And obviously we're going to pick the sport version of the request. I would love to take you to the festival, if you'd like that. You would? I laughed, charmed by his obvious shock. Look at that blush! Of course, don't you think it would be fun?
I think most things with you would be fun.
Aww. Can we watch the fireworks together? Oh, and get some hot chocolate? He looks at me as if he's testing the waters, waiting to see if Ezra has informed me that he's banned from indulging in the sweeter things. Maybe we'll just stick to the fireworks?
He already told you, didn't he? Well, it was worth a shot.
Yep. And that's how we know that he's a demon. He grabs his notebook, tucking it into the safety of his puffy coat. Not a coat, it's a vest. These are just his regular shirt sleeves. Let's go. Omen skips along beside me, tipping his head skyward to catch snowflakes on the tip of his tongue. A tongue which I'm startled to discover is alarmingly long and as black as the night. I try not to stare, but it's hard. Very hard. Omen, do you mind me asking what kind of demon you are? He stops dead in his tracks, looking around to check that we're alone as we continue down the icy, cobbled street.
Oh, I'm not supposed to tell.
Well, that's not suspicious. Does Ezra know? He nods, wrapping his arms around himself.
Yes, but I didn't tell him. He just knew. No one else does, though, and I'd love to tell you, but...
It's fine. I understand. He smiles, swirling around once, twice, tipping his head back once more. He's clearly enamored with the snow, wiggling his fingers, palm facing upward, so he catches flakes against pale skin. They melt upon contact, faster than they would if I were to do the same. He looks a little sad, a heavy sigh falling from his lips. What's the matter? He stops, turning to face me.
Sometimes it sucks being as warm as I am. I love the snow. We don't have it where I come from. But I just can't enjoy it the same as everyone else.
So, obviously, we're going to flirt. So, according to the developers, according to the merchandise that sells, Omen and Piper are kind of like lagging behind the other characters in terms of popularity. So that wasn't why I picked Omen for this. There's another reason, but I want to give exposure to some of the characters, the romance options that others kind of miss. And I've also noticed that on YouTube there aren't any Ezra playthroughs either. I guess people, if they do romance Ezra, they tend to end up romancing Ezra and Finn. I know something fun we could do that you'd be quite good at, actually. You do? I nod, reaching out. He takes my hand, and I feel just how warm he is. Not uncomfortable, but definitely a shock at first. Sorry, I know it's weird. We don't have to... It's fine. It's nice. It is? I squeeze his hand to reassure him, his warmth sinking right down to my bones. Gosh, can you imagine having a partner who runs as warm as Omen, especially somewhere that gets cold enough to get snow like this? I don't. I live in Southern California, so the coldest that it gets here is maybe the 40s in Fahrenheit. I don't know what that would be in Celsius, but it never, well, maybe not even that. It never really gets cold enough for water to freeze into ice. And if we do get any snow at all, which we rarely do because of where we're positioned. It usually just melts once it hits the ground. The first time I got to play with snow was college. And that was because I took a class that required some field trips, and one and took us up into the mountains during the early spring, and there was still snow on the ground. And most of the others in my class that went on the trip were like me. They grew up down in the valley where we rarely get snow, and so like bunch of these late teens, early 20s people playing with snow outside of McDonald's. I'm sure we looked hilarious to the others in the area, but it was fun, and I'm glad I got the chance to play with snow. I'm freezing. You're warming me up. He smiles, and it's soft and unmistakably sweet. I'm glad. I clear my throat, trying not to get too distracted by the way he's looking at me with that charming gaze. Now, we just need to lay in the snow.
Lay down in the snow? But it'll just melt underneath me.
Exactly. I drag him towards an undisturbed patch of snow that sits between two houses, falling to my knees and urging him to follow. Sure enough, the snow quickly melts beneath him. Well, that's kind of the point here. Just copy me, okay? He nods quickly, following my lead as I lay on my back, still clasping his hand as I splay out my arms and legs. He starts to laugh at me and my flapping, but when he realizes what I'm doing, he enthusiastically joins in. I help him stand when we're done, and his snow angel is far more impressive than my own. See? You can have fun in the snow. You're an angel now. He leans against me, laughter still shaking his shoulders.
That's definitely the first time I've ever been called an angel.
But yeah, that's the case where running as warm as Omen does would actually work in his favor. That's cool. We reach the market a little while later, having become quite distracted with Omen's fascination with the snow. He's in an amazing mood, bright and cheerful, and I feel my worries melting away while I'm in his presence. He insists that we seek out the area of the market where they sell food and drink. I keep my wits about me and heed as his warning. No chocolate. You're serious. I stand my ground, even when he looks at me with those big brown eyes. Ezra said no, and I trust that he's looking out for you. You want to tell me why you can't have chocolate?
I might be a little allergic to it.
That sucks. I love chocolate. I mean, I like all kinds of chocolate, but my favorite is white chocolate because, having watched baking shows, I've realized white chocolate has the highest sugar content of the different kinds of chocolate, so that's why I like it. My twin sister, on the other hand, doesn't have a sweet tooth, so she doesn't like white chocolate. I'm the only person in my family who really likes white chocolate. This just means more for me. I don't have to share. Demons can have allergies? Apparently, yeah. Then definitely not. I don't want you getting sick. He hops, sidling up to me, his tail swaying lazily behind him. All that happens is that my tongue gets a little weird. Tingly, even. I clear my throat, nodding. Okay. A heavy, stubborn sigh, and I wonder if I'm about to see a demon temper tantrum. He doesn't supply any further information and instead offers me a shy smile. Tingly? He nods, his tail curling around my wrist, giving it an insistent tug.
Please? Just a little?
Oh, that voice. Okay, I'm going to scroll back so we can hear it again.
Please? Just a little?
And this is one of the things about the voice acting. It just enhances the experience. It gives certain scenes more of an emotional impact. Of course, we're going to let him have some. I find it quite hard to deny him when he's looking at me like that. I sighed, defeated, and before I've even said yes, he's excitedly clapping. Fine, but just a tiny taste. Nothing too crazy. Deal? Deal. You pick something and we'll share. I return with a box of chocolate truffles, lovingly wrapped in gold tissue paper and tied with a red bow. Obviously, this is kind of supposed to be analogous to Christmas, or I guess Yule for us, or whatever winter festival you want, winter holiday you want to think of, Hanukkah, whatever. I know the festivals, the different winter holidays have different meanings for the different religions, so I'm trying not to say they're all equivalent, but this is kind of supposed to, I guess, take that place, because everyone expects there to be a winter holiday of some kind, right? This reminded me of you, the colors. So we'll go back, gold tissue paper and red bow. That's sweet. Yes, they're my favorite. Now it's chocolate time. Even from their indulgences. I roll my eyes, unable to stop myself from smiling as I open the box, letting him pick one. He delicately brings it to his lips, taking a careful bite. He hums contentedly as he chews, and I take the other half of the truffle from him before he has a chance to swallow it whole. Tastes amazing. Yes, well, it's always the things you like the most that we can't have. He sticks his hand in his mouth, and I quickly crowd closer, prying it away. Are you okay? He clears his throat, lashes fluttering as he looks at me. I'm fine, it's just a little tingle.
It's annoying, sure, but it's also quite nice.
You would. Oh. I clear my throat, trying to snap myself from this little daze I've suddenly fallen into. One where I'm apparently fixating on a demon's tongue. I mean, you saw how long it was, right? As long as you're okay. Aren't the fireworks due to start soon? Omen shrugs, looking up at the sky.
I lost track of time. I'm having too much fun with you.
My heart. I smile back, warmth booming in my chest. We should make our way there, just to be sure. The docks are packed, teeming with people. We squeeze as close as we can, but Omen stays close. Apparently not a huge fan of such a big crowd. Of course, we're going to watch Omen. Now, in the previous version, we actually saw the fireworks happen, but I think they took that out and just left in the sound effects. I'm going to turn up the sound effects a little bit. It really does have like a lot of fireworks to that. I got to see fireworks probably this close at least once, maybe a couple other times. But once I went to a baseball game with my family, and they had a fireworks show after the game. That was fun. The sky suddenly comes alive with loud, bright bursts of ever-changing colors. I turn my gaze from the fireworks, looking at Omen. He's transfixed, staring up at the sky with such naked wonder that my chest aches. Wow, they're so beautiful. He meets my gaze, blushing when he sees that I'm already looking at him. Do you see, Michelle? I nod slowly, a small smile creeping onto my lips. I see. Even over the loud boom of the fireworks, I hear his breath hitch. And unless I'm seeing things, a low, deep orange glow is drumming right where his heart lies. He places his hand upon his chest, fingers curling in the fabric of his jacket, impossible warmth radiating off him. The colors that burst in the sky reflect upon his pale skin, and see just how dark his eyes have turned. Almost black. Closes them, long lashes resting atop pink teeth. The display comes to an end, the crowd cheering, clapping. I lean in. Then, somewhere in the distance, I hear an awful, bone-chilling scream. And that's the end of the chapter. And it's barely half an hour, so I'm going to keep going. Because why not? Besides, I want to get to some things that I didn't notice in the demo, and we'll see them again. Plus, there's this. I want to at least get through this first bit with Piper and August so that you can understand what I meant about the voice acting really adding impact. The cold winter wind whips against my skin as I run as fast as I can, sinking deeper into the ominous woodland that surrounds Lunaris. Look at the eyes, aren't those creepy? I'm hot on Piper's heels, and she's determined and hyper-focused, as am I. There's nothing like the hunt, the way my instincts drive every feeling, my senses sharpened to a knife's edge. My every thought is fixated on winning, and only winning. I can think of nothing else but finding the source of the distress, a terrible sense of dread swirling deep in my gut. The woods are teeming with every hunter and enforcer Lunaris has to offer, each and every one of us silently hoping that this isn't what we think it is. That this isn't the first victim that we've all been expecting. Another of our comrades targeted us, slain so brutally and without an apparent motive. Killed simply for doing their job, protecting human carnage. My feet pound the frost-kissed grass, tall trees with gnarled branches that curl inward like talons, almost naked from winter's grasp, looming high above us. I spot eyes glowing in the darkness, so I quickly realize that they're carved messily into the rickety tree trunks. They glow ominously, and as another gust of wind blows, I swear I see some of them blink. Yeah, we can see those eyes. I make a mental note to remind myself to return to investigate, so I'm sure there's nothing new on a town like this. Piper sticks to a stop, her fingers diligently hovering just above the handle of each of the daggers that sit safely in the holster at her back. Now this is new. This is a slightly different CG. And the old CG, she was still in her festival outfit, of course. She's just friends for the festival, but it was a different pose. She's still facing mostly away from you, but she was facing more towards the right, and she wasn't even looking at you, but she did still have her daggers out. Did you hear that? Quiet but obvious whisper echoes amongst the trees, and groans for something unexpectedly inhuman in the creature. I'm going to turn the settings back up, the sound effects back up. I don't remember if there actually was a whisper. You don't actually hear the whisper in this case. I did. The fingers twitch. So did mine. Eyes narrowed, every sense razor sharp and zoned in on that singular point.
It feels young and inexperienced. It's beneath our skill level. Beneath us.
She says it with such a confidence, but her guard is still firmly up. The duo of wide-eyed hunter sergeants that have been ordered to tail us arrive at our side, their cheeks rosy from the harsh bite of the wind. Major? Piper opens her mouth to respond, but she pauses, looking to me.
You're the highest rank here, General. Do we move on and let these two handle it? Or do you fancy working out some tension?
Of course we're going to fight. I always do with working out a little tension.
That's what I was hoping you'd say. I haven't had a good fight in what feels like forever.
Piper, I'm sorry I'm not romancing you this time. I turn to address the sergeant. Continue heading for the rendezvous point. If you encounter General Willenheim, tell them we're on our way. They nod a little too eagerly and run onward. The hairs on the back of my neck rise the second they're out of sight. My body is gearing up for a fight, adrenaline coursing generously through my veins. I close my eyes and clear my mind. I can hear the steady, assured drum of Piper's tight heartbeat. Quiet rustle of the grass, the leaves rustling in the trees. Then I feel it. A vampire, a young one. Her aura is frantic and skittish. She's only just awoken. She's hungry and scared. She's trying to hide. I smile. We're out quite far. I always used to find younglings in this area. She can likely sense that there's a clan here. She's either seeking guidance or an easy meal. It's too dangerous to let her live. She's unstable. Then we kill her. The youngling finally emerges from the tree line. Her vivid crimson iris is surrounded by a blackened sclera. Her eyes flicker wildly as she lumbers towards us, unfocused and impossibly unsteady on her feet. I want to double check. This should be easy. She's clearly deprived of blood, dark lining veins surround her wild eyes and creep down her pale cheeks. She wears no shoes, her feet black with mud. Her clothing is torn and saturated with blood, most of it likely heroic. Her death was obviously not a merciful one. She's quite clearly been left to navigate her rebirth by herself. This never ends well, ends in a slaughter of innocent lives. Her lips curl menacingly to reveal sharp fangs that she's clearly still getting used to, and she lunges at us without hesitation. Okay, so I'm going to let the dice choose. Because yes, I keep dice nearby. Because they're shiny magnets that go sticky cut. Okay, so I have a d6. So 1 and 4 we pick dodge. 2 and 5 we pick block, and 3 and 6 we pick counterattack. So that's a 6. So counterattack it is. Before she even gets a chance, I propel myself forward, lunging and knocking her off balance. I watch her stagger, her newly broken fangs bared as she scrambles on shaky legs to steady herself. A hunter and I circle her, a hunter and its prey, because that's exactly what we are. She doesn't stand a fucking chance. Piper shifts somewhere behind me, and considering we've never hunted together before, our instincts are perfectly aligned. She moves, I move, it moves, we attack. She tries to attack again, shrieking as she attempts to fling herself forward and attach herself to my neck.
Not today, sweetheart.
Piper. I promise I will romance you. I did romance you. I grab her arms, twisting her and holding her tightly as Piper sinks one of her daggers into her shoulder. The youngling screeches, a deafening sound that leaves my eardrums crackling. She thrashes as the silver burns her flesh, the smell of it turning my stomach. Yeah. She draws the claw at the blade, leaving her fingers bloodied, even more so than they already were. I tackle her to the forest floor, pushing her face into the dirt, my knee firmly lodged against her spine. The youngling screams as Piper forcefully grabs her hair, yanking her head back. She stares her down, tactfully avoiding the snapping of her jaw, and she shakes her head again.
Put her out of her misery.
We work in tandem to remove her head clean from her body. It's the only way, however violent it may be. I feel warmth spray against my skin, the unmistakable smell of copper permeating the air. The visceral sound of tearing flesh and breaking bones fills the clearing. Then she turns to nothingness beneath us, an unrecognizable pile of blood and viscera, yet another human life stolen and twisted into something evil. Wow, that was fun. I brush the dirt from my knees and take a deep breath, watching Piper clean up her bloody daggers on the grass. We should really get going. She turns to face me, and I spot that her face is covered in a dark splattering of crimson. Not gonna flirt with everybody. I point to my own cheek, tapping it gently. She looks at me like I'm an absolute idiot. You've got blood on your face. Oh, well, what's new? You do too. Are you stealing my look? No. I don't think I really have an image in mind for Michelle yet. I do for some of them. Yeah, I don't have an image for Michelle. Decided that. I shrug, scrubbing at my own skin with the sleeve of my coat just to be sure. Comes away a deep crimson. I call it hunter chic. Piper rolls her eyes, sheathing her daggers and swiping at her face. She heads as the slowly draining blood smears across her russet skin. Yes. Well? I study her carefully, nodding my approval. Clean as a whistle, or at least as clean as someone who hasn't just slain a feral murderous vampire. Bad at jokes. Why am I not surprised? Takes a deep breath, looking around the now eerily quiet clearing. What I like about this is even if you don't romance the character, they're still your friend.
We'd better get going. August will be having an absolute bitch fit.
Yes, we will. Piper then tilts her head to the side, a loud crack as her bones click back into the rightful place. Let's dash. It's easy to tell what we're dealing with as we draw nearer to the scene. Dozens of hunters and enforcers of varying rates saturate the small clearing. The majority of them still dressed in their festival attire, much like Piper and I. We spot a retrieval team emerging from the tree line. Their faces are pale and drawn. It's them that I know. They didn't make it.
You're here.
Can we just appreciate August's coat as well? Because we didn't get to see their coat before. We are. We ran into some trouble on the way, but we took care of it. I gathered that's why you're so late. It's fine. Obviously, such things cannot be prevented.
It's not good news, as I'm sure you can tell.
My heart sinks. I knew. Hearing it out loud, it's still unpleasant. Do we have an identity? They shake their head, brushing the front of their fur coat that I'm sure they're less than happy about wearing in such a situation.
We cannot identify the...
Their voice catches.
There is no body. Again, nothing but... when I don't need to repeat such monstrous details. You've read the reports from the previous murders. Much of the same ghastliness.
Piper scoffs, her shoulders tensing, and I swear I can see tears in her eyes. She's hurting and angry. So angry that I can feel it. Goosebumps prickles across my skin thanks to her close proximity, and my own emotions waver with the sheer force of it. This is fucking ridiculous. Okay. Just like it. That's me.
This cannot keep happening, August!
I flinch, feeling the surge of energy as August reacts. The smell of ozone is suddenly thick in the air. Look at their hands. I didn't notice this before at the demo, but you can see their magic showing up on their hands. And if you go to the festival with August, you end up having to go track them down in their office because they get distracted. And when you get there, their magic has basically crawled across the walls and floor and everything in their office. And it looks so cool. We have a really lovely moment with them. There's a flash in the darkness and violet sparks crackle about their clenched fists, their eyes alight.
Thank you, Piper, for your input. I didn't know this was upsetting. I assumed everyone was enjoying this.
Ouch. A dozen eyes turn to look at them and they quickly calm themselves. August looks beyond exhausted, as always. The skin beneath their eyes is purple, their cheeks drawn. Piper opens her mouth to retaliate, but wisely decides against it. This actually might be the first time I've seen her look guilty. August averts her gaze as if they can't bear to look at her. They're upset, too.
I suggest you keep your thoughts to yourself in such a situation, unless you have any useful insight.
Not a question.
Yes. Sorry, General.
Oh. It's just her voice. It's so heartbreaking. Especially compared to her outbursts. Which probably elicits Piper speaking without thinking. But yeah, let's go back and hear that again. Just get it, the whole thing. Listen carefully.
Yes. Sorry, General.
First time I've heard that, I wanted to hug her so bad. Just reach the screen and just hug her. I thought as much. We're all hurting, Piper, not just you. Probably the closest thing to an apology they've given her so far. August sighs deeply, stares both a woeful glance before they address their gathered forces.
Hunters, any mages present will patrol the immediate area. Generals will head further afield and begin an extensive perimeter search. I want no stone unturned here. Any juniors need to get the hell out of here. You're not equipped to even think about dealing with whatever this thing is. And I won't be responsible for your demise.
No.
Anyone else present is to report back to headquarters immediately. We'll need people on the ground in order to reassure the townsfolk. I don't want this causing widespread panic. It's damage control time.
There's a quiet, subdued mumble of "Yes, General," and they all dutifully begin to obey August's orders, disappearing in various directions. Would you like me to join the perimeter search? Well, I'd like you to go home. Leave this to the others. We've made you ready for anything that may transpire overnight. Of course. Piper fidgets, uneasy. But you're a major, aren't you? If you were listening, you'll know what I asked of you. The tension between them is yet again immensely unpleasant. Of course, General. She should have expected such a response, and I wonder if she'll ever learn. Maybe she's hoping to rile them up. I can't tell. She throws me a quick, pitiful glance before she glares at August and turns to join her comrades. Later. August massages their temples, inhaling sharply. I notice that their hands are trembling, and I unconsciously take a step towards them, fearful that they might pass out. They hold out their hand. I'm fine, Julie. General?
I appreciate your concern, Hunter, really. Anything that ails me is my fault and mine alone.
Yep. Now, please, head back. I meant it when I said I need you rested.
You'll be the first to hear if anything significant happens. I'll send a messenger to retrieve you when the victim has been identified.
Of course. Good night, and stay safe. If you think I'm staying out here on this for another second, you're sorely mistaken. I have a mountain of paperwork the size of the ibex on my desk. Farewell, Michelle. I take a final look at the scene where the enforcer witches have passed through mage fights over a bloody patch of grass, leaving them to their work no matter how much I long to investigate. After that outburst, it's best not to question my enforcer's request. I bow my head before I turn, eager to get out of here. As I head back to the woodland, I notice how eerily silent it is. A strange sense of calm washes over me, then a whisper. This time we get to hear a whisper. Hurry. I stop dead in my tracks, my hand hovering over my weapon. I see nothing, feel nothing, no matter how hard I concentrate. Then I realize that voice, the familiar yet subdued ache that begins to creep into my temple. James? You deserve to know. The pain ebbs and flows, my breathing growing unsteady, almost as if something weighed heavy upon my chest. The fleeting, comforting calm that just settled over me is snatched away. His voice continues to echo in my mind. No what? I'm sorry. A sharp, burning pain shoots up along my spine, and I fall to the ground. The snow-covered grass is wet beneath my fingertips. His words were cut off, and after a moment, I'm yet again surrounded by a blissful silence. Fucking ghost. I drag myself to my feet, and now I only have one thing on my mind, one thing that I must do. Visit the Lieutenant General and find out what the hell is happening to me. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Quick break. I will be back shortly, and I do intend to finish the chapter. You think I could sit back down without making a production out of it? Okay. After having no luck finding him in his own office, I head to the only other place I assume he may be at this hour. The door to Artist's office is thankfully ajar as I peek around the frame, finding Harry standing alone. He has a report in hand, his coat hung on the back of August's chair. He looks exhausted, his eyes red-rimmed. However, when he notices me, he still offers me a bright, earnest smile.
I can't tell you how relieved I am to see you safe.
Yes, he is voiced as well. There's a reason for that. I'm going through this with the assumption that if you're watching this, you don't know the story already. If you know the story already, you know why his character has a voice as well. If you're not familiar with the story, then you have no clue. So I'm not going to spoil it for those people who don't know. My throat feels tight, and I can't quite place why. James is doing a good job of making it difficult for me to stop thinking about him. The pain I felt from his final moment was raw, like an exposed nerve. For some reason, when I think of it, I don't think of Harry. I need to know why he wanted me to come here, why everything seems to point back to the man standing before me. I need to tell you something, but I need you to promise that you won't think I've lost my mind. Harry narrows his gaze, nodding once. Go on. I visited the graveyard a few days ago while I was getting my bearings. He stays silent, but I can't help but notice the way his knuckles bleed white as he tightens his fist. I felt an overwhelming sense of grief there, pain, a yearning for a lost love, a sense of failure and crippling sorrow. I thought nothing of it at the time. It's not unheard of for those that have been murdered to feel scared or sentimental in their final moments, in my experience. But Harry drops his gaze, his bright eyes sad and edged with tears. My words threaten to catch in my throat, but I relent. The other night, I visited again. It was almost like something was pulling me there. I heard more, not just in memory this time. He spoke to me. It looks like he's seen a ghost. Stares at me wide-eyed, quickly swiping at his cheek.
Oh, James.
I get the horrible feeling that he's been waiting for this. I need to know. He nods, clearly understanding. Then he takes a deep, shuddering breath.
James was assigned as my very first hunter the moment we both graduated at 18. He'd shown remarkable promise in school, basically skipping all of the junior nonsense that they force on you. I, too, had impressed, so we were placed together in the hopes that we'd become unstoppable. We were inseparable in the field together for decades, until I took this post as Lieutenant General.
A pause and another deep breath, one that shakes.
But, as well as being my subordinate, he was also my partner.
The feels.
My husband.
Tears, cute crying emoji. My heart sinks, bile rising in my throat. I've read countless reports about him and the infamous Hunter Lane over the years, but I never knew his first name or anything about him other than his incomparable work. Official workers tend to omit personal details for the safety of the hunter or enforcer in question, unless they become a leader like Harry. They were inimitable, the best of the best. Together they killed some of the most nefarious creatures in our history, and, without question, every young trainee aspires to be just like Hunter Lane. To think that he's just gone, and what Harry must be going through. I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
For nearly 10 years, yes. But we'd known each other forever. I failed the hunter initiation quite dramatically, and he was taken away to his father's home country to train to become what I'd always dreamed of becoming. Life had other plans for me, but we still found each other in the end. He used to joke that we were destined. The romantic fool. I really don't think it's sunk in that he's gone just yet.
Yeah. I know how that feels.
I keep thinking he's going to walk through my door, covered head to toe in blood and grime, with a stupid, wonderful grin on his face.
And those his eyes light up when he talks about him.
They say that people deal with grief differently, but I haven't quite figured mine out just yet. I apologize for not telling you, but it was important to me that I could trust you first. My judgment has been impaired, I'll admit it, though this turn of events isn't exactly what I expected.
Nobody can expect a ghost to contact them.
All I can think about now is justice. About the others that died before him, and what we could have done to stop it. What I could have done to stop it.
I noticed that this is partially voiced because I'm not sure if I could get through some of this again. What did he tell you when he spoke to you? His words waver, and he mindlessly fiddles with his wedding band, eagerly awaiting my response. I think about what Ezra said, about being careful of who I shared this with. Did that warning apply to Lieutenant General of all Espria? Of all of Espria? I think I told the truth when I did the initial playthrough. So we're gonna lie here. And just because. He just told me his name, nothing more. If he did try to say anything of substance, I didn't hear it. I see. Studies my face, and I wonder if he can tell I'm hiding something. I stand my ground, my expression solid.
Find Augustus. They can help. They specialize in psionic magic, and this certainly falls into that category, I assume. Trust no one else with this. Do you understand?
I nod, feeling immensely guilty that I refrained from telling him the whole truth, but I think I need to keep this close to my chest. I will. Silence hangs heavy between us, and I don't quite know what to say next. He looks devastated, understandably. He must have so much on his mind already. His latest murder, and now this. The way he came alive when he spoke about James didn't go unnoticed, and I wonder if maybe talking about him would lift his mood. There's a lot of hunters out there that can only aspire to be half as brilliant as Hunter Lane. I would love to hear what he was like, if you don't mind. His somber expression disappears, and he seems to brighten up a little.
He was a cocky son of a bitch, but it worked well for him in the field. He was never careless, though. I often found myself watching him instead of paying attention to whatever was attacking us. Luckily, he could fight well enough to protect us both, or I'm sure we'd have been in trouble.
I mean, that's fair. I know, Robin, my Piper Mancer, as people call them, sometimes gets distracted by Piper when they're out in the field together.
A lot of enforcers choose to stay cooped up in a stuffy office, away from all that danger. Working with James made me not want to miss a thing.
He digs into his coat pocket, retrieving his wallet and pulling out a small, weathered photo. He pauses, staring me down as if he has reservations. Then he hands it over. It's of him and James. They look young, beyond happy, and impossibly in love. Now this is slightly different. I mean, the previous version there was a picture of them still, but this is a slightly different version of the picture. But yeah, it's beautiful, and I love the little detail of the fact that James's palms are lighter than the rest of his skin, because that is the case with people of African descent. Or, yeah. I don't want to say black people. And it certainly looks like he has very short shaved hair. That seems to be very common with men. Can't help staring. And you notice that there's no scar here. So this was obviously taken when they were much younger, before Harry caught that scar.
We were unbearable to be around, I'm sure.
I studied the genuine smile from where their fingers are laced together. I may not know James aside from the voice in my head, but I feel a strange connection to him. I've also known him forever. Thank you for showing me. He tucks the photo back into its place right beside a neatly folded up letter. And I think I know what that letter is. We will find out a bit more later on. But keep in mind that there was that letter next to the photo.
Well, apparently he appears to have taken a liking to you. It's only fair for you to put a face to the name, I suppose.
He stares down at his hand, once again twisting his wedding band. His expression is neutral when he meets my gaze, but in a split second, his disposition shifts to the stiff formality I'm so used to when dealing with figures of authority. I gather that our conversation about his dearly departed is over.
What happened tonight could have been prevented. It's unacceptable that we were so aware of the looming threat, and yet we let our guard down and lost another life. This cannot happen again.
Excuse me, sir, but it was your idea, your insistence that we let the festival go forward? That we encourage people to attend, that we require people to attend? Well, not the citizens, but enforcers and hunters. So it's partially your fault. Just saying. I nod, agreeing wholeheartedly, but cannot shake the feeling that yes, this could have been prevented if it weren't for the festival. The festival he was so adamant went ahead, despite others' clear apprehension, including August. That's what I said. I think better at pressing the matter. Harry suddenly doesn't seem like a man willing to admit fault. Keep that in mind. Did you speak to the twins as I requested? I did. As I'm sure you expected, I didn't get much out of them. A quiet hum, which I think is an indifferent agreement, and Harry sighs heavily. They are rather adept at both lying and sheer avoidance. I am interested in speaking to the brother alone, though. Something off about him, like he just didn't want to be there. I also came across a letter inside the building, one that was addressed to him. The language looked demonic. Harry nods, indifferent, and I wonder if he even heard me. He places his throat and flicks his eyes to the side as though he has no interest in humoring me any longer.
There's nothing more you can do here until we've identified the victim. Get some rest. It's late. You're dismissed, Hunter.
Okay. Sir, yes, sir. So I'm used to being addressed in such a manner. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't perplexed by the shift in his demeanor. I track it down to grief, just like he said, but I can't help but feel like maybe I've disappointed him somehow. I turn and I quietly leave. The snow is still falling as I step outside, so the hour is late. There's certainly no peaceful quiet in Lunaris tonight. The streets outside of headquarters are bustling with hunters, enforcers, and everything in between. I keep my head down as I make my way towards the wolf. I fall into a trance as I replay my conversation with Harry over and over, trying to pinpoint the exact moment that made him change his attitude so drastically. I snapped back to reality when I bumped into something cold and hard. Getting a pair of familiar golden eyes staring back at me when I look up.
Distracted, are we?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I step back, brushing down the front of my coat. I can see those lips are on the cusp of curling to the side, and it makes me amused smirk. You could say that. It's been a long night. He offers me a sympathetic look, shoving his hands firmly into his coat pockets as the two-over enforcers passes by. They make a point to glare at him and quite proxy at me for being near him. Finn dutifully avoids their gazes like a man who has had centuries to perfect fading indifference to the way people like me treat him and his kind. I'm glad to see you safe, Michelle. We were all worried for you when we heard. Thank you, Finn. He turns to check that the street is clear, turning back to me with a serious look. I have my clan patrol in the woods. I'll ensure they're out until dawn, searching if necessary. Anything we can do to help find whatever or whoever is doing this. I'm grateful for their assistance. I certainly can't say I've ever had an entire clan of vampires as allies before. I'm optimistic that their help will be of great value to me. That's very kind. After an indecipherable pause, Finn's expression drifts somewhere far away. You know, I was out there just now. Picked up a scent. Something familiar. Familiar how? He steps closer, and there's a certain air of caution in the way he addresses me, as if he's unsure that we're truly alone. I didn't get to hang around. There were too many enforcers, but the blood on that stone we found in the graveyard, at the scene of... He pauses, apprehension clouding the way he looks at me. His next words are glum and as dead as his demeanor of Hunter Lane's death. He's testing the waters with the way he holds my stare as anything to go by, waiting to see just how clued in I am. I know about him, Finn. I spoke to Harry just now. He might be a vampire, but the look that crosses his face momentarily isn't exactly savvy. He casts his eyes away from me, the frown that settles at his brow softening around the edges. He licks one of his fangs, thinking with a forlornness that suits him a little too well. I see. And how did that go? I shrug because I can't really offer him anything else. I feel deflated and defeated. Not great. He's in mourning, and I don't think he's in the right mind to be making decisions. Finn clenches his lips, contemplating my statement.
That's a bold way to speak of your Lieutenant General, but I don't doubt your instincts. I've lost loved ones, and it's never easy. The mind needs time to heal after such trauma, and all Harry is doing is delaying his grief.
Eventually he throws me a half-hearted smile, but a sense of something pitiful rather than friendly. I suspect my frustration with my current predicament is glaringly obvious without him having to read my thoughts.
I'm sorry you've been kept so in the dark. I can sense that you're frustrated, and I don't blame you. As much as I may not agree with certain information being withheld, it truly is for your safety.
Fuck. It's funny, because everyone keeps saying such things, but he doesn't feel like anything other than sheer avoidance. He removes a hand from his pocket, running long fingers through his hair with a knowing exhale. Yes, well, I can excuse anyone else's behavior. I can apologize for my own. Come by the catacombs when you get the chance. I have some things we can discuss that may help. But spending some time underground in a tomb sounds less than appealing. Finn doesn't look like the kind of man who lives in squalor. Plus, any information is valued, and Finn has lived for long enough to know the ins and outs of this strange little town. Thank you. I'll take you up on that as soon as I can. He shakes his head, encouraging me to follow him towards the wolf, I assume. Come on, I'll walk you home. I am eager to get inside, and with a few strides I catch up to him, following in step. I don't require an escort, you know. Everyone seems so set on ensuring I'm safe, but you all seem to be forgetting I was brought here to save the day. Supposedly. He brushes his lips in an obvious attempt to stop himself from laughing, and I watch the bottom of his throat as he swallows the noise.
I'm aware that you require no assistance, but think about the hunters that were killed. They were of your caliber, your rank. The best of the best, as the enforcers love to say. The thought of you ending up like them is not a pleasant one.
Okay. Alright. He has a point, I suppose. Very well, but no gambling. Understand? Yes, General. He laughs again when he catches sight of the dramatic roll of my eyes, sidestepping with startling grace toward the elbow that I launched towards his ribcage. We walk quietly through the streets, the cobblestones glistening with frost. The moon is full and hangs low in the sky, as it always seems to here in Lunaris, and Finn exhales sharply to break the silence. I glance at him, too tired to ask him any of the hundreds of questions that run through my mind. I think he knows somehow, because he also seems to have something on the tip of his tongue. We stop outside the wolf, the lantern that hangs above the door, dark thanks to the late hour. I glance up at the now familiar sign, a scrappy-looking white wolf howling at a full moon, and I laugh. Finn leans against the mismatched brick and stares at me quite intently, his eyes unnervingly bright in the growing darkness. What's funny? We're all masters at being painfully cryptic, and yet I still feel at home. I shouldn't trust a single one of you, should I? He turns, checking we're alone again, before he leans a little closer, his voice low.
That's for you to decide. So, tell me, Hunter, what does that tricky little gut of yours tell you about all of this? About us? What do you feel?
No, it's a shame the bar is closed. I'd go for a drink right about now. The grin he offers me tells me I probably said the wrong thing, inviting him to be devious. Michelle, if you think I've lived here for centuries and not broken into the tavern for a late-night beverage, then you're sorely mistaken. I don't doubt that, and it's certainly tempting, but no, I shouldn't. I need a clear head tomorrow. Suppose I can muster with all of this fog anyway. I wonder what August would think if their new Star General was caught stealing from a local with a vampire. That laugh. Okay, let's hear it again. And again. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm willing to find out. I joined him in his laughter. The mere thought of August being informed of such transgression was giving me that boost I needed to drag myself up the stairs. You're yet to discover just how easy August is to fluster, and I implore you to find out. It turned quite a startling shade of red. Oh, we have found out, just not on this character. I don't doubt that, but I've seen August mildly angry, and I can't say I'm all that fond of it. I'd rather not get zapped. He shrugs, lips pursed. That's fair. I really should get some rest.
A pleasure as always. And remember, we've got your back. Should we find anything of interest overnight, I'll come running. Daylight permitting, of course. Good night, Hunter.
Daylight permitting, of course. Yes. I turn to smile, pushing the heavy door to the wolf open and praying it doesn't creak like the other residents. Good night, son. I watch him go before I close the door, only the light of the moon guiding his way as he disappears into the darkness. I finally settle upon the hard mattress, the cheap sheets harsh against my skin as I attempt to get comfortable. Light from the low-hanging moon pours into my room. I scrub myself clean of any traces of grime from the hunt, and I can't help but feel irritated by the sheer lack of progress I've made so far. I come to the conclusion that there are too many secret keepers in this town, and refuse to feel defeated, or to let it continue. Overwhelmed by today's events, I find myself falling into a swift and dreamless sleep. Okay, I'm going to pause here again. I had way too much to drink before I started this stream, so yeah, be right back. Okay. Sorry for that slightly too much information. Reality settles over me when I wake, a thick smog that almost suffocates me as I reluctantly drag myself from the almost comfort of my bed. I haven't had anywhere near enough rest, but I must relent. Sorry, relent to me means something completely different from how it's being used here. So it's always a little disconcerting to see it used, to me, incorrectly. Yeah, it's just, technically, relent is being used incorrectly. I just looked it up on dictionary.com. Yeah, so instead of relent, I would use something like persist, but that's me. I gather the energy to dress and head downstairs to face whatever obstacles are hastily and inevitably shoved in my way. As my eyes take in the blurry side of the empty tavern, the hideous sound of the scraping of wood against stone assaults my ears. In a corner of the room, Alcar stumbles to his feet, the chair he's been sitting on almost toppling over. He catches it and sets it right, and grimaces briefly before stalking over to me. It's easy to see the hunch of his shoulders and the stiffness of his posture. For a moment, I wonder if he's hurt somehow, but as he comes closer, it seems more likely he's only wary, perhaps? Not unusual, but with the commotion last night, it still puts me ill at ease. I don't need supernatural senses to know that this is going to be another pebble on the mountain of mysteries. He looks a mess. What has he been doing, going around on the forest floor?
Hunter, I need to speak with you.
So, for people who aren't aware, in the previous version of the game, he had a brand on his chest, but the hunters and forces had put there. But apparently, the developers didn't like that, so they took it out. Yeah, which really confused me at first, but I was like, hey, threatening him just sounds too extreme. It doesn't sound like the Luke cocky half-like and I've come to know. He speaks forcefully. There's a tremor in his voice that's hard to miss. What's wrong? The frown deepens. Instead of explaining himself, Alcar holds out his hand and uncurls his fingers, revealing a crumpled ball of fabric. For a moment, I stare at him and at the thing he's holding without comprehension. Alcar stares back, his expression telling me he thinks I'm an idiot for not getting it. And our air conditioner just came on. Let me close the window. Our air conditioner is set to come on at a certain temperature, and this is probably the latest it's come on in a while. But then I realized the distinctive purple under the dirt and the dried crust of blood, and my stomach dropped. A hunter sash. Alcar is holding a hunter sash in his hand. Or what's left of it. The thing is in a sorry state, its original color almost indistinguishable under the grime. Carefully, I reach out to take it from him for closer inspection. He looks down.
It doesn't belong to the hunter that was killed last night. It doesn't belong to any of them. It's not right. The smell.
I stare at him in disbelief, shaking my head as I feel the gritty fabric between my fingers. And who does it belong to? Alcar shrugs half-heartedly. In the tavern's uncertain light, his face is drawn and his eyes are sunken. Exhausted, I realize. His tail still flicks back and forth, back and forth. In impatience or agitation, it's hard to tell with him. All I know is that Alcar is telling the truth, if for no other reason than because he's too worn out for deception. I tried, but I couldn't tell. I searched all night with Finn's plan, but we came up short. He looks over his shoulder, checking to ensure we don't have company.
I have to be careful. I can't be seen with such things. They'll...
Sharp exhale, and he admits defeat, shoulders drooping, ears flat against his head. There's as much bitter resentment in his voice as there is salt.
They'll make me pay for my generosity with my own blood. Again.
The certainty with which he says it makes my stomach drop almost as much as his grim resignation. I'm not going to let them hurt you, Alcor. I hold up the piece of scrap fabric, handling it like it's gold. It might as well be. I have no idea what it might mean for the investigation yet, but it's still very clearly something. And I'm well aware of the trust, or perhaps desperation, that it took this seeming pariah to come and entrust it to me, in person. I hear him scoff. Yeah, I'll pray. Who are you? I roll my eyes at him. Aren't we talking about you and your issues here?
I don't have an issue. Well, I'm unlikely to have one if you keep mum about where you found that fabric scrap. Which I'm sure you will, yes?
Asking me to lie to my superiors already? What are we? When I speak in jest, I make sure my tone communicates as such. I already know discretion must and will be employed once I decide to report this finding to August or the Lieutenant General. I don't want him hurt. I don't want them to hurt him. Alcor smirks at me, resting his hands on his hips, some of that cockiness finding its way back to him. A welcoming sight, and one I'm glad to see. Sure, I'll gamble on it. There are worse odds to bet on. He leans closer suddenly, lowering his voice despite the empty tavern.
I don't know how much or how little you've decided to trust the Pomps in that workplace of yours. And I said all that shit about not trusting anyone. But just listen to me this once. Take that to Ezra, not your superior.
He regards me with beseeching intensity, eyes quickly across my face, like he's looking for some sort of gift, something he can trust. I don't know if I can give it to him. Arthur's concern for his own well-being, I understand. This is different. Yet, I have no desire to bother Harry this morning, not after last night, and not over an inconclusive scrap of something that smells strange. August is another mystery altogether. Ezra does have a wonderful little shop full of witchy magic. At a time this small, I can only surmise he'd be the one with the most tools at his disposal to suss out an analysis for something like this. It does make sense to go to him, which is all well and good, because Alcor is beginning to look downright fidgety. All right, I'll go to Ezra with this. Alcor stares at me for a second longer, like he doesn't know if I was being honest. Eventually, however, his shoulders relax and he takes a step back.
Then my job's done. Hope you don't mind me quitting this place. The tavern's no fun when there's nobody here to annoy.
Uh-huh. He drops into a mocking half-assed bow, his tail swishing, and then all but squeezes himself out the door right past me before I can so much as frown. I stare where Alcor has already vanished, and I wonder for a moment if I should chase him down. He's no hunter, and I have a feeling, not entirely natural, that the thing out there he isn't interested in lichens, witches, demons, or vampires. It has nothing to do with the killing pattern. It's fine. I tuck my coat a little tighter around myself and reluctantly make to follow his path. Breakfast will have to wait. The shop is empty when I arrive, that comforting tinkle of the bell that sits above the door welcoming me. Ezra is nowhere to be seen, but I do spot a small white cat curled up at the foot of the shop's counter. Curious creature, one that gives off the same soothing magical aura as her assumed owner. The purple curtains that separates the shop and the living quarters twitches, and Ezra emerges clutching a cup of steaming tea.
I'm so relieved to see that you're okay.
Aw, my friend. The cat's ears twitch at the sound of his voice, and she stretches, sauntering over to him and parading herself in between his legs. He ignores her, moving to place his tea upon the counter. I heard that you had to depart the festival quite abruptly. We were all worried. I nod politely, offering him a clipped smile. I did, unfortunately. I hope you've had enough rest. You look exhausted, not that I'm surprised after what I assume was an incredibly late evening. Would you like some tea? The sash feels heavy in my coat, and as much as I enjoy exchanging pleasantries with the witch, I'm here for a reason. I actually need your help with something quite urgent. You do? What is it? Both the cat and Ezra watch me intently as I retrieve the sash, the violet bloodied fabric unfurling as I hold it up. The cat hisses, her hackles raised as she darts into the back room. That, paired with the look on Ezra's face, unnerves me, and I sigh heavily, exasperated, as he rushes past me to lock the front door. Deadbolt and all. He faces the door, his palms laid flat upon the window pane. It glows a pleasant shade of blue as he whispers what I think to be a word incantation before he turns to join me. Though we're quite clearly alone, his voice is tactfully quiet.
Where exactly did you get that?
The words rush out of him, and his aura is panicked, so much so that I begin to feel a terrible sense of unease washing over me. Ezra is the one person I truly had no hesitation about trusting from the start, someone I thought I could rely on, but I find myself questioning his intentions. Could he possibly already know who this belongs to? And if so, how? Alcar found it in the woods last night. He told me to bring it to you, and only you. He runs a hand through his curls, so I notice that it's shaking. Ezra, are you okay? A heavy exhale, and he closes his eyes, shaking his head before he meets my gaze.
I don't think you understand. This puts us all in danger.
Danger? I don't understand. It's just a sash. I simply hoped you could identify who it belongs to. You're aware of who its owner is, I assume, based on your reaction? I played dumb, disguising my interest in the fact that I know it's not the new victims. If he's hiding something, I'll find out. He moves around to the other side of the counter, nervously rearranging a pile of glowing crystals and pushing aside a dish filled with colorful gems. He spares me a glance as he takes a seat, and then he forces a smile. I have an inkling, yes. May I? He holds out his hand, which I observe is not perfectly steady. I'm hesitant to part with the scrap after that little display of uncertainty. He seems to have collected his thoughts. Are you sure? He nods, wiggling his fingers impatiently.
As sure as I'll ever be. Now, let us get this over with.
It's so lovely. As soon as the sash meets his palm, a bright emerald light emanates from his fingertips. The fabric hovers mid-air, suspended by vibrant walls of magic. The movement of Ezra's hands is fluid like water as he commands his spell. I watch in awe as a mark forms before him, indecipherable shapes, shifting and changing. His eyes are alight, brighter than ever, as the blood that coats the sash seems to pull away from the fabric, suspended alongside his magic. It's beautiful, a truly impressive display, but I ensure I don't take my eyes off him for even a second. His lips part, his brow deeply furrowed as he concentrates. He doesn't look pleased, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what he's doing. Whatever it is, I just hope that it helps. This is the first solid piece of evidence I've managed to get my hands on, and I refuse to rest until I get a name. A sharp inhale, and Ezra closes his eyes tight, the magic dissipating, and the sash falls and settles upon the wood. He drops his head, his knuckles tight as he grips the edge of the counter. I had a feeling. Ezra, work with me here. I need you to be honest. You look scared, maybe even a little upset.
This is way bigger than me, but I can't in good conscience keep this from you.
I'm not sure if he's talking directly to me or if he's reassuring himself. I suspect it's the latter. I try to remain calm, and I truly am unsurprised that yet another person in this town has managed to refrain from divulging potentially valuable information. This sash belongs to a girl named Aya Walker. He pushes away from the counter, putting distance between himself and the sash, eyeing it warily. And who exactly is Aya Walker?
I really shouldn't say any more. I would hate for any harm to come to you because of me.
Harm? Who would harm me over something as insignificant as a name? I'm growing increasingly more frustrated as the minutes pass by, and Ezra can tell. I know he's not stupid. If anything, he's too smart. I suppose he's just looking out for himself, but whatever knowledge he's retaining is clearly valuable, and I must know. I think back to what Omen said only a few nights ago, about Finn visiting less, about Ezra being tired all the time. Is this connected somehow? I take a cautious step forward, aware that with him being this emotional that I could very well startle him. I spread my hands, showing my palms in a gesture of peace as I approach. Ezra, I'll make sure you don't get punished.
It's not that simple.
I can see he's growing increasingly more frustrated, most likely with himself. I've always had the impression that Ezra is truly an honest man, so that whatever he's hiding, he must be doing so with good reason. I hope.
She was a hunter, a general. A good one, too. Another of Lunaris' finest. She'd only recently transferred here from a few towns over when she was arrested.
I try not to look too confused, but I can't help the way my eyes widen when he says that. Arrested? He nods. Hunters, especially of a general's rank, are very rarely thrown into dungeons for minor transgressions. We are too valuable, so what did she do? I don't know why. Nobody outside the enforcers does. I don't know what to do with this information. A young general being thrown into the dungeons is alarming, especially when there's no apparent reason. Treason, murder, unlawful torture. These are all things that I know hunters have been imprisoned for, but never without the public having full knowledge. Such events are not usually quiet ones. We have families and friends. We save lives. There must be something somewhere that tells me why she was stripped of her title and thrown in a cell. I take the sash from the counter and tuck it back inside my coat, and Ezra keeps a close eye on the movement, as if it may jump out and bite him. Arr! Who was her enforcer? Ezra throws me that look again, the one where he looks sad and reluctant. Gus. Of course, because I don't have enough on my plate already. He quickly scrambles to add to his statement, clearly not wanting me to think ill of August.
Only in the interim while her transfer was processed. She and Piper hit it off quite quickly, but she was gone before she had a chance to thrive.
I take a step towards the door, and Ezra nervously follows. Where are you going? Looks like he wants to reach out and stop me, but I think better of it. I'm going to clear my head before... I don't know. I reach to turn the knob, then for the handle, watching his words shimmer and fade as he reluctantly waves his hand. Something begs at me to pause. Tell me, why are you so afraid?
I'm scared to learn the truth. I've only ever wanted to find somewhere to settle, somewhere quiet and away from the things that gave me nightmares. I found that here. I found love, a family, and yet...
Nothing lasts forever? He shakes his head.
Everything crumbles, eventually. That's why I'm afraid. I just want a normal life.
We stare each other down for a long, lingering moment. I truly feel sorry for him, for everyone in this town. I assume that associating yourself with creatures doesn't grant you with much peace. It does not. I drop my head, my mind swimming. People are dying and being thrown in dungeons. I've got your back, Ezra, just as long as you have mine. I thank you. Just stay safe. We need you. Okay, we're getting there. I'm gonna hate me for it. I'm gonna leave it off. Chill air hits me as soon as I open the door of Ezra's shop and step outside. It hisses in my ears, piercing through my layers like it wants to chase me back indoors. I can think of no alternative more enticing, but my work is done here and I need to move on. Not a moment less well-timed, it seems, as I close the door and immediately notice a familiar face skulking about just out of my vision until now. Omen startles when he realizes that I spotted him. He takes a full step away from me, one hand half raised, his tail lashing like a snake. For reasons I can't even begin to fathom, there's genuine fear on his face. Omen? The first thought to cross my mind is that he's suspiciously distraught. The second is that it pains me to see him that way. Maybe a distraction is in order. Try to catch Omen's eye and wink at him. Speak of the devil, I was wondering where you were. Did I imagine that he stepped into the words? It's hard to tell how stiff he already is. It lasts only for a second before his face turns red. Maybe redder than just a blush. Something flickers in Omen's eyes, like embers about to burst to life. He looks sideways too quickly for me to make sure. His aura turns, shifts, but it doesn't change. Omen twists a strand of hair around one finger and tugs at it, his tail twitching most anxiously, adorably. Omen cringes, rubbing at his cheek. After you left, things seemed to turn a bit chaotic, and I thought it was best I go away for a while. That was good thinking. Omen nods, his ears drooping. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you, too. I was worried I scared you away after the moment I wave a hand vaguely over my shoulder, hoping that's the direction of the dots. The almost kiss that August would have skinned me alive for. Not that Omen seems to need directions. He's looking at his shoes, the door to Ezra's shop, and my shoes, and something behind me. Anything but my face.
It's all right that you weren't able to find me. I wasn't...
No, you don't scare me off. I wasn't running away. I enjoyed our night together. You were very kind to spend it with me. I feel the same. He laughs, the sound startled and helpless, but even as he stifles it, a grin dances around the corner of his lips. It lasts for just a moment before he falls serious again. I'm looking for someone. Omen says this very quietly, like he's confessing a secret. He scans my face with eyes flickering red rather than the usual warm brown. I wait, since there's little else I can say. Then something seems to resolve. Omen looks from me to Ezra's door and takes a step back, his mouth tight.
She's probably not in there. I should get going. It's nice seeing you again.
He makes me turn away, and I don't know what moves me to act. Perhaps it's his aura, the way I suddenly sense it swell under his glamour and spot the wisp of flame trailing from his hair and the tips of his ears. Perhaps he's walking away, and I simply can't let him go right now. Perhaps I'm tired of one more fucking mystery in this town. Either way, I reach out and grab his wrist. Wait! And instantly regret it. Slightly different CG. He scorches my hand, forcing me to withdraw with a small cry. Omen looks over his shoulder at me with glowing amber eyes, his lips drawn back in a half snarl. His still eerily human face is framed by a wreath of fire. My guts clench, my twist drop under the sudden glimpse of an immense, blistering presence that sprung out of nowhere. My instincts scream at me in warning. Demon! Then Omen jerks back as though out of a trance, and everything extinguishes. I don't know how long we stand outside Anna's shop with the space of a sword swing between us. Omen's arms are limp by his sides, making no move to defend himself. All he does is stare at me with huge eyes and palpable horror.
I'm sorry.
I force my mouth open to tell him it's all right. I have had worse, really. I can only pry my jaw apart. The words I can't force through. He's not waiting to hear them. He's stepping away. 1, then 2, then 3. He turns around and flees. I can't move my legs to follow. By the time I get enough control of myself back, Omen's already long gone. In hindsight, I'm glad I couldn't follow him. It takes a tremendous effort for me to pry my stiff fingers from the comfort of my weapon. Yeah? I've been sitting in my room at the Wolf, waiting for the sun to set, waiting for darkness to fall so I can carry out my next move. No messenger had come to summon me to headquarters, and neither had August come to bang down my door. I gathered that the identification of the deceased hunter is taking a little longer than expected. Or many dark things crossed my mind, but I pushed them away. I meant it when I said that I'm tired of being pushed from pillar to post, kept in the dark. The knife is a knife. If this town wants saving, then I'll do it on my terms. The door to August's office is thankfully unlocked, and I'm pleased to discover that it's empty. The desk is in its usual disarray, papers and books haphazardly strewn across its surface. I take a deep breath and head straight for the filing cabinet I've seen August rummaging through so often, and I carefully open the drawers. Apparently, Piper has her own, a whole portion dedicated to her report, an impressive feat. After much rummaging, I eventually find Aya's paper stubs at the very back of the bottom drawer. If I didn't know what I was looking for, they'd have easily gone unnoticed. It certainly looks like August has tried to hide them, which only increases my suspicion. I find her transfer papers, a glowing letter of recommendation from a previous enforcer. The records are clean with no discrepancies, nothing but praise. I see the words kind and thoughtful repeated multiple times. The only complaint, if you can call it that her enforcer had, is that she was overly cautious. Then I find it. The discharge papers, an obnoxious red treason stamped across the front page. Now, this is what I was talking about when you see August's office lit up with their magic. If you choose to take them to the festival, and you end up having to go looking for them, and you find them in their office with their mat lit up like this, and you reach out and you touch the magic, and it just, I'm pretty sure that August can feel it when you do that. It was a really lovely, intimate moment.
What are you doing?
I watched magic coat every surface, flowing and curling over the walls, floor, furniture. It even creeps over their clothing, their skin, too. They stare at me wide-eyed, vivid violet swelling the once ice blue of their irises, and though I should be concerned that I've been caught, I'm distracted. August? The magic that glimmers upon their clothing disappears, and their eyes lose that otherworldly glow, but the room remains alight. They look at the bundle of papers that I hold tightly in my hand, a frown furrowing their brows.
I would ask that you put those back, Hunter.
Their words are eerily calm and seem more concerned than annoyed. What's happened to her? They close the door, clicking the lock and checking the handle before they walk towards me. As poised and perfect as ever, they stare me down.
You know, not even Piper found those. I hate to admit that I'm impressed.
August? They unfurl their fingers in a silencing gesture, and I pause. August is still my superior officer, and I am nothing if not respectful.
I do not wish for Piper to be demoted, nor do I wish for you to meet the same fate, but I appear to be having a case of déjà vu. But, you know, sometimes the hand that feeds is a forceful one.
I'm perplexed. I expected a much harsher conversation. August isn't exactly known for that calm temperament, and this is startlingly out of character. Aren't you going to admonish me? With a sly smile, they shake their head. No, Michelle, I am not.
I believe in you, strangely. I believe that you're a bright light at the end of a very, very dark tunnel for this town. And I have been questioning things lately.
So, I'm never sure. We're not going to pick the third option. And I'm never sure whether I should go with the first option or the last option. You know, some of these, it's quite clear which one is more appropriate, at least in my mind. So we're going to let the dice decide. I pulled out my d6 again. So on number, we go with the first option. This one here. Even number, we pick the third option. And we're not going for the middle option, because we're not flirting with August. So that's a 2, so we're going, I just want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Their uncertainty is startling. They've always seemed so sure, so confident. It's like a different person stands before me. Are they afraid too? I just want to know what happened. Their mouth twists and they sigh deeply. I don't know what happened. I am but a pawn. August, please. Let my frustrations show. The paper's crumbling in my grip. She's rotting in a dungeon and no one knows why. Not even the one who signed the papers? A fierce bright glow surrounds us, magic crackling at their fingertips. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll back so we can watch that happen in reverse, and then again. Skin. Right. The magic is responding to their emotions. I love it. And again, their hand has magic swirling around on it. And then dims again. I did not sign them. They take a deep breath.
I couldn't do such a thing. This goes higher than me, far higher.
People are scared to even utter her name. They shake their head, and I notice that I can't get a read on their aura. I am no liar when I say I don't know. Something in my gut tells me this really is all connected. This doesn't exactly comfort me. The very institution that I work for, that I've dedicated my life to. I moved to pull up the sash and let it unfurl, holding it before them, and August's eyes were wide. Who does this belong to? Aya Walker. Her expression is unchanging. I see. It's bloodied. I nod, handing it to them. They carefully laid it across their palms, studying it intently. Heavily and torn to shreds. Whatever happened, she put up a fight. They frowned, their lips pursed. Something is clearly perplexing them.
She was not reported to be injured upon her arrest. That much I do know. Something like that wouldn't be omitted.
I gave them a sorry stare, wondering how they could still be so sure of such things. You're positive the blood is hers? I want to tell them how I know, but I can't implicate Ezra, nor Alpha, not after they were both so clearly terrified. I'm sure, and I'm going to need you to trust me on that. Strangely, they didn't question it. Instead, they sighed, placing the sash upon their desk. She was yours, August. Don't you want to know what happened to her? I want to see her, to visit the dungeons. They glanced out of the window, and another heavy snowfall pushed the icy street outside.
I think you need to take a seat. I have a few confessions.
I can hear the rush of my blood pounding in my skull as I take a seat, my heart trying to escape the restricted cage of my ribs, just stare my enforcer down. Okay, so this is actually where the break between chapters 3 and 4 was originally, but they took the chapter title cards out. So we're going to go ahead and save here, because I know, okay, so that's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter, Universal chapter, chapter 3, chapter 4. Okay, so, yeah, that's it for today. So, depending on how long it takes me to get through chapter 4 next week, I may go ahead and do chapter 5 as well. But I'm making no guarantees. I will at least do chapter 4. I need a break. It's almost 2 hours now. So I hope you all have enjoyed this, and especially the lovely voice acting. It's especially, I mean, obviously it was really impactful with that little bit between Piper and August after the Lunar Festival in chapter 3. But also when you choose a romance, if you don't choose to not roast, if you don't choose the no Romo, right, and some people call it, the voice acting there is amazing. Like, it just got me right in the feels several times. So far, all of the voice acting has been wonderful that I've heard. I can't say seen, heard. So they managed to get some really wonderful talent for the voices, and it makes me look forward to Coming Under even more, because that also has special voices as well. And they have Robbie Damon, and he has recorded some lines already for Coming Under. You can hear him in the demo, both demos for Coming Under, and they've indicated that Allegra Clark has been hired as well. And I really have only heard her in 2 different games, but she did 2 very different characters, so I'm really excited to see what she does for this new character. Alright, so, I'm just making a note to myself. Okay, so I will be back on Wednesday, continuing with my live stream of Errant Kingdom with the Ambassador Route, Chapter 4. We will finally find out where the fuck they have ended up, if you've been following along. And then I will be back, and then next Sunday I will continue with When the Night Comes ReVamp. I will try not to play Omen's route on my own before then because I want to be surprised. So the way I am doing the route on my own, I will save Omen's route for last. To kind of just put it on. And even if I do end up playing his route, I will not play beyond what I've already done on the stream. Because I want to bask in hearing everything for the first time. Well, not everything, but some for the first time. So, that's it for today. I hope you all have a great week coming up. And and I will catch you next time. Bye.